When IBM interviewed, and they basically said, look, we have a hardware lab, we have a software lab. You know, I was electrical engineering. I always thought I'd end up doing something with hardware and with, a soldering iron. That's what I thought it was. Electrical engineering was about. I asked them, I said, what do I have to wear to work? And they said, well, if you go to the hardware lab, you probably have to wear a suit and tie every day. If you go to the software lab, you can wear what you're wearing right now, which is jeans and t-shirt. I go, that's the job I want. My name is Jamie Palmer. I'm Senior Director of Strategy for the Webex division here at Cisco, and I work remotely from my house here in Hanwell for a company that's thousands of miles away in California. I've got a family of 4, and they're all kind of going through kind of that transition into their lives. They've all kind of moved out of the house, or they're all in university now. My wife and I got married when we were in university, and we wanted to have kids and start that traditional life, I guess. I love music, so I'm the typical middle-aged white guy with a guitar and a microphone. But I lead worship at our church here in Maryland. I did a little bit of scuba for a while and biking, but I would say those are more fair weather hobbies than anything else. I was a decent student. I mean, I was I was pretty well-rounded. I grew up on a dairy farm, so we never had a lot of money, so I didn't get into a lot of expensive hobbies when we were growing up. But I worked at Radio Shack. I said I was, grew up on a dairy farm, but I never did much farming. I was number 7. I was a baby, so I kind of got away with a lot. But yeah, I worked at Radio Shack, and that's kind of where I developed an interest in technology. And there was a great owner there, Steve LePage in Woodstock, and he ran a great business and was very, very open to letting us, use the stuff to learn, and it was a great environment. So you learn from a lot of people you work with and admire, and certainly I admire Steve. And as you're a kid, you typically end up in a retail job at least once in your life, so it's a good experience that way to understand how to interact with customers and deal with situations that you're probably not going to get exposed to any other way. And there was a guy that ran our computer education courses in Woodstock. His name was Ed Cowper. We called him Computer Ed. He was one of those guys that liked to learn and to share. So I think he did a great job of instilling some, curiosity into a lot of kids. And there was a bunch, I think, that ended up in the technology industry because of that. I went to UNB. I took a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering, and I specialized in computer science, or computer engineering, they called it back then. But in UNB, they still have it. It's called, I think it's called a Professional Experience Program. You go three years of school, and then you take a year off, and they place you in this PEP program. They place you with a corporation. But I ended up at IBM through that program, so we spent about a year and a half. Basically 2 summers and one full term in Toronto, and we worked at IBM. That was a lot of fun. One thing to note is you never know what small decisions you make are going to change the course of your career. They basically said, look, we have a hardware lab, we have a software lab. I was electrical engineering. I always thought I'd end up doing something with hardware and with, a soldering iron. That's what I thought electrical engineering was about. I asked them, I said, what do I have to wear to work? And they said, well, if you go to the hardware lab, you probably have to wear a suit and tie every day. If you go to the software lab, you can wear what you're wearing right now, which is jeans and t-shirt. I go, that's the job I want. These little decisions can change your career path quite a bit. What I learned in university was learn how to learn. And that taught me, the skills and the discipline more than anything. If you don't put your work into it, you're just not getting anything out of it. So IBM actually hired me, but I didn't work in the same group. I was now working in what they called the compiler group. And it was a very hardcore computer science topic or part of the industry. You're building software that builds software. So I had to learn a lot, but it was very, very very educational, on-the-job training, and I got to experience working with a lot of really smart people in that industry. You have to have a lot of experience. When you sit down to build software, you use different technologies, and they teach you in computer science languages. We always refer to languages like a software language. At the time when I was going to school was C and C++. Somebody has to build those languages. Somebody has to build the software that is the Java compiler, we call it, or the C++ compiler. So it has to do with how you efficiently take code and convert it into a machine language that an operating system or a chipset can understand to operate and do what you asked it to do. So there's lots of science around that and analysis, and how you break down the document of code into the instructions that convert into machine language. So that's what I did at IBM. I didn't actually get too hardcore into that. It was involved in a lot of the testing and the analysis. Worked very closely with the real smart guys. Worked there for 2 years, and then a friend of mine that I went to university with called me from Memphis, Tennessee, and said, "I just moved from Ericsson to this startup in Memphis. I think you should come down and interview." He convinced me to just come down just to hang out. They said, let's get a free trip to Memphis. We'll go see Graceland. And so I went and I interviewed. It was really kind of a cool company. So we ended up moving down there for this, working for this startup that was called Cellcore. And they built GSM switches, which are the next generation. At that time, all the cellular phones were analog technology, and they were building a digital switch for emerging markets. And that was, a hardware company. We had hardware that was being built by a team. There was middle layer software, and then there was all these servers on top of it. So that lasted about 3 years. That company got bought. But I met a lot of great people there, and two of the folks there started another company after that. And another 3 or 4 years working at that company, same sort of thing. That's the software that we built that Cisco ended up buying as part of that acquisition. Yeah. All that time I was an engineer. I was a software guy, writing code and testing code, or working in that type of environment. And when we started the company in Maryland, I did that for the first 3 or 4 years. In the industry, we talk about software engineers, people that use software to build and design, solutions, and typically we refer to them as software engineers. And I guess throughout the first part of my career, I considered myself a software engineer. Yeah. Typical day looked like for me. Well, I work for a West Coast company. I try to at least sit down, 10 o'clock my time. So it does sound like a late time to start working, but 10 o'clock my time is 6 o'clock on the West Coast. But come, 12 o'clock, my day is usually back-to-back meetings. There's a lot of different projects that we've got on the go, and my input is involved. I may not be directing the projects. Some of them I am, some of them not, but I ended up getting pulled into a lot of meetings that may, we have partners that we need to integrate into the platform. And my role is just to kind of keep tabs on what's happening in the industry, help our leadership team make some decisions based off of data. So I have a whole data team that just kind of mines what we sell, what's being used, and looking at analytics there. And then, we work with analysts that are working in the industry. They give us input on what's happening, what they believe will happen in their crystal ball 3 or 4 years from now. So that helps us kind of carve out where we should invest. Every once in a while, I think, I just like to go back and write code because I'm naturally more introverted than I am extroverted. This requires a lot more talking and a lot more outbound communication, and sitting in front of a computer is much more comfortable for me. But all of that has forced me to learn new skills. So many ways to learn new stuff online, and so many courses that you can get for free. And then even a lot of the university programs from big Ivy League schools, they have a lot of stuff that you can just do online now. So my view is there's no excuse if you're interested in getting involved and in this type of industry, or in tech, if you just have curiosity and just have discipline to spend time learning, you can do a lot. So through the course of your life, you just can't help but learn new skills like this. It's just part of living, right? Telecommunications industry has gone through so many different reinventions of itself, and in the last decade, we've gone from just business phone systems to unified communication systems where everything's integrated into one app that you use on your desktop. But that is colliding with the way we communicate with customers. So those systems are coming together, and what we call customer experience, contact center capabilities, all of these are now being powered, taking advantage of the artificial intelligence revolution, and I think we've kind of hit that turning point where everybody used to be annoyed with when you call a help desk, or and you get that IVR and you get that speech recognition system and it would never understand what you're saying. You just wanted to say agent, agent, agent. It's going to change, and we're going to see that people will actually be much more satisfied with these automated responses because they're going to be so well trained and so efficient at giving you what you need. I could go back in time and give my younger self a piece of advice. Listen more and talk less. And don't be afraid to try new things. I've met so many people that didn't want to try something, and didn't want to travel, was worried to leave. But I also think that in this generation, we have so much opportunity to work from home in this type of industry, and work from home and still contribute to your local economy, but still get that professional opportunity that you may think you'd have to normally go to another city to learn from. I'm not advocating never leaving New Brunswick. I'm just saying if you can and you have the opportunity, go do it, but come home. It's a great way to do it. Throughout my career, I've tried to always be learning, and that's actually what I like about this part of my career is as long as I'm in a position where I can learn something new every day and I get paid to do it, that seems like a pretty good gig. It's very easy to not do that. You can just do what your job is supposed to do, and you can probably just continue to do that and not really expand. So a lot of people that I meet are, people like me that started off in engineering and just got to the point where they were probably being very, very loud about how they think things should be done. And they ended up getting a product management job because they won't stop talking about it. But that's, it's just a very rounded set of skills. You have to be able to present. You have to be able to share your ideas concisely, and I think it's very rewarding because you have this, at the end of the day, you're working with a big team that builds products that are being valued and used by end customers.